welcome to the 10-minute rule bill. Go on, Davies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to be moved to be given leave to bring in a bill, the Clean Air Bill, as set out on the order paper in detail. I first moved a Clean Air Bill, in fact, on the 1st of November 2016 to coincide with the 60th anniversary of the Clean Air Act. And since then, obviously, I've been the chair of the all-party group, and so it's pleased to present this bill 70 years on from the Great London smog that incited that bill. And this is hot on the heels, of course, of another Clean Air Bill, the Clean Air Human Rights Bill, that I wholly support, because obviously we should have a right to life, we should have a right to a healthy environment and a right to clean air as set out by the United Nations. I'm very pleased that today we have in our presence Rosamund Kissimmee Deborah, who has pioneered clean air, and this month, tragically, is the 10th anniversary of the death of her daughter, Ella, who was the first person to have air pollution as a cause of death on the death certificate. And the coroner there said it was crucial that we did enforce World Health Organization air quality standards and have a greater awareness of the public health risks amongst GPs and the public. And these provisions need to be in any Clean Air Bill or Act as Ella's law. Globally, we've got a situation where some 9 million people are dying prematurely of dirty air. In Britain, the figure is around 64,000 at a cost of 24 billion to the economy, to the NHS, in particular through productivity loss. And what we're looking at here, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is lung cancer, heart disease, strokes, diabetes, obesity, babies and children and all people being affected in their physical and mental health through their lives. These are avoidable risks. We had a situation where the Lancet is saying that 41 of 52 cities breached the World Health Organization 2014 standards of 10 micrograms per cubic metre for PM2.5. This is unacceptable. We've got a situation where pollution provokes allergies. There's something like 21 million people in Britain with allergies. We're in the top 3 nations in the world for allergies. We've got 5.4 million people with asthma. We know that air pollution provokes childhood asthma and sometimes, tragically, death. We know that with COVID, according to Harvard and the Max Planck Institute, the death rate in more polluted areas is 8 to 12% higher than otherwise. And this is particularly the case in the sort of poorer, more diverse and polluted areas, which account to a great deal why we saw such discrepancies in different groups in death rates and infection rates during the pandemic. These were avoidable. The focus naturally has tended to be on outdoor air pollution, the so-called natural environment that the Environment Act dealt with, talking about transport industry, agriculture, etc., forgetting that we spend 90% of our time indoors, and something like 900 dangerous chemicals have been found indoors that impact on people's health. These range from building materials in volatile organic compounds, cleaning agents, flame retardants, cooking, of course, and mould and damp generate asthma. Candles, of course, are very unhealthy as well. And so we've got a situation of a cocktail of poisonous chemicals indoors, then mixing up with what's outdoors to provide major problems. We've seen some reduction in nitrogen oxides, but ironically, this will generate more ozone, which will generate more indoor air pollution. We've also got this growth of wood burners. Something like 1.5 million people have got these wood burners, often sort of middle-class people in urban environments who've got central heating, who are polluting themselves and their communities, because wood burners are actually 6 times worse than HGVs for generating particulates. And the government needs to be brave on this and take action in terms of restricting the use and sale of wood burners. The government's ambitions are, frankly, hopeless in relation to the EU in terms of our targets. The government has said, oh, we will achieve 10 micrograms of PM2.5 by 2040, while the EU is saying they'll achieve that target by 2030, 10 years earlier, and that will mean thousands of unnecessary deaths in Britain. And this 10 micrograms isn't anywhere near to the WHO current guidelines, World Health Organization current guidelines of 5 micrograms. We know that the report commissioned by the Chief Scientific Officer, Sir Patrick Vallance, into indoor air pollution has found that we need better ventilation, better filtration, better indoor air quality to ensure that we can save, in their estimation, £1.3 trillion over the next 60 years. And indeed, the Chief Medical Officer, Chris Whitty, has also done a report to highlight the fact that there's much greater infection from poorly ventilated environments, and recommendations to improve that in terms of the work, home and transport infrastructure, as well as his focus on wood burners. We need greater awareness so that people who send their children to school know they're being polluted in the school and in the playgrounds, would generate political pressure on local authorities, MPs and other representatives to actually campaign for change. We need a holistic view. It's all very well DEFRA having some targets and the NHS picking up increasing numbers of people with all sorts of conditions, including dementia and lungs and brains and hearts, as I've mentioned. We need, obviously, the transport team involved in this. We need a fiscal strategy from the Treasury to deliver. So we need a holistic approach that brings together all the departments in a way that takes this seriously. We talk the talk on net zero, of course, but the truth is that both air pollution and net zero are generated by one thing, which is burning fossil fuels. So pollution and reducing air pollution should be seen as a driver for delivering net zero rather than a helpful byproduct, but that's not how it's seen. We can have new innovation where, for example, we might generate hydrogen from off-peak renewables and feed that, for instance, into the gas grid. So when you boil your egg, there's both less a carbon footprint, but also the toxicity of what you're breathing is much less, in particular if you don't ventilate. We need proper enforcement. Under the EU, obviously, Client Earth was able to take the government to court and get fines implemented. We need those teeth in the Environment Protection, the Office for Environment Protection, which it currently hasn't got. The government's first duty should be to protect its citizens. Citizens have the right to clean air and health. And I know that my colleagues will be bringing in, with a Labour government, a Clean Air Act. In the meantime, it is imperative that we all do everything we can now to save as many lives as possible for Ella, for all our children, and for all our tomorrows. Thank you very much.
Yeah.